Hi everyone. I wanted to talk to you about how to deal with difficult employees at work. Now, I've had my fair share of dealing with difficult employees, and I know how frustrating, how draining, how stressful it can be, and it really is an emotional roller coaster at times. So I wanted to share very quickly what worked for me, what is working for me, and I hope you can use this and take this to your own line of work and address negative employee behavior. So obviously there's many different types of difficult employees, and they can range from anything from negative people complain, people who get angry so very quickly, people who are control freaks, people that listen. The list is really quite long, but whatever their behavior, it doesn't really matter because the strategy to deal with it is the same. So I want you just to bear in mind that there's a saying that goes, you are the average of the 5 top people that you hang around with. And what this basically means is that who you surround yourself with, you're going to become like them. And really, there's nothing you can do about this. I mean, this has been proven and tested. So subconsciously, that negativity is going to actually reflect on you, and without realizing, you're going to become the same. So what you need to do is limit your time with the situation, with the person, whatever it is. Okay, because the last thing you want to do is just continuously deal with it and think about it and have arguments with the person and all this kind of stuff. It's not very productive. It's going to drain you, it's going to take you down, and I highly recommend you don't get caught up in that cycle. With that said, how do we deal with difficult behavior, difficult employees? And the first step really is that you need to speak to the employee. Now, I'm assuming this is something that has to be done at the beginning. I'm assuming that you've clearly communicated your expectations from the beginning. So you've spoken to the employee, you've told them what you expect, what the job is, how you want them to work. So at the interview stage, when you're hiring someone, you say, this is our employee handbook, this is your job description, I expect you to be doing this, I expect you to be doing that, your breaks are this long, you're not allowed phone calls at this time, whatever it is that you deem important in your work, you need to communicate that at the beginning. Obviously you can't communicate everything sometimes, but the fundamentals need to be there. And if you've done that, if you've set out the expectations from the start, then anything that happens after, you can just bring the employee back and say, we have spoken about this at the beginning. I have told you what I expected from you. This is what you did. This is in breach of what our expectations are. So that way they're fully aware that you've done your role, you've told them, and they've actually stepped out of line. Many times, people, managers, they have an employee that's acting in a certain way, but they haven't actually told them that they expect them not to be acting this way. Now, this obviously doesn't cover everything, because there are certain things you can't tell someone, like you can't say to someone, look, you shouldn't be stealing or you shouldn't be doing that, because that's just obviously self-explanatory. But I'm talking about day-to-day sort of running of what you expect in the office or at work. Okay, so you've spoken about at the beginning. Now you're noticing a behavior at work that you're not happy with. How do you address it? Okay, then what you need to do is take the employee to one side and actually speak to them about it and say, you know what, I've noticed you did this and the other time you did that, and I want you to know that this for me is unacceptable. This kind of behavior is not acceptable in the workplace here, and I would like it to stop. Okay, so you make it very clear, very, very clear, that this kind of thing should not happen again, should not go on. Okay. Also, you're giving the employee a chance to explain themselves, because maybe they're not realizing that they're doing something wrong. Okay, so you stay, tell me, why is it that, why did you do this? And listen to them and find out what there might be a genuine reason why they're acting this way. They might have something bad has happened at home in their personal life. Someone at work is bothering them. You said something that was being taken the wrong way. It could be a whole number of reasons as to why they're acting the way they are. What's important is not to get emotional, but just to take them to one side, have that conversation, allow them to speak, to tell them. And 90% of the time, that will resolve the issue and it won't happen again. Okay? So if you do notice something that's bothering you, don't let it fester inside. Don't ignore it. Don't avoid it, because really it's not going to improve. And the best thing you can do is actually address it straight away as soon as you can. That's the first thing. Now, assuming you've spoken to them, you notice again the behavior is repeating itself, the employee is not changing. What you need to do is to start a written documentation of what is happening. So the second time that you meet with them, and again, you need to check with your HR department, but most HR departments, this is the procedure. Verbal first, then you start the written. And in this instance, what you're doing is you're basically just documenting the conversation that you're having. So you say to them, right, this is the standards that we expect. This is the behavior that you displayed. This is not acceptable because if it happens again, this is going to be the consequence. Okay? Now, this just makes it more real, and it's just, you've got something on paper and you've got the employee's signature there as well. So you can, if this gets taken further down the line, you can just show that you've actually followed standard procedure, and the reason why we do verbal then this sort of informal written one first is because we're trying to give the employee a fair chance at improving themselves, because we want to be seen as fair employers. We don't want to just be straight away go harsh and terminate an employee. Okay, we want to give someone a chance to improve this, to rectify whatever it is that they've done wrong. Okay, so verbal, then you take it written, and then again you have to make it clear the consequences of them continuing. But this is a very important point. You never say, if you do this again, it will lead to your dismissal or it will lead to your written warning, because if you do that, then it's like you've made up your mind. This is very subtle, but it's very, very important. So what you do say is, this could lead to your receiving a written warning, or this could lead to further disciplinary action. Could lead or may lead. Okay. Again, get your HR department to help you with this. When it comes to matters of the law, you don't want to take things lightly. You want to make sure that you're doing everything by the book. Okay. Obviously, when you're speaking with people, when you're talking to your employees, keep an element of keep respect in the maintain respect. Don't get emotional about it. Don't get angry. Don't get upset. Just be very matter of fact and state what you saw, what the facts are, and don't raise your voice. Don't get angry, because this won't help the situation in any way. So just keep calm, but just address the issue. Now, assuming you've tried this, and I'll be very honest, I'm going to give you a very, very important tip. And this is probably the most important tip out of the whole video. You want to really be careful about who you employ for your company. Okay? Because sometimes trying to change a difficult employee is a lot of hard work, and it's a lot harder than having someone who is not a difficult employee, where you don't have to manage them, you don't have to deal with it. Now, I know sometimes it's hard to tell, who's going to be good, who's not going to be good, but try to make sure you do during the hiring process, make sure you do your homework. Make sure you call up references. Make sure you've fully interviewed them. You find out what their history is, and really, the most important step is you start with the right employee. That's really the most important step in dealing with all of this, because when you take the wrong employee into your team, it's and and they are the difficult employee, it's going to be very, very hard for you to to change them sometimes. This strategy works very well, but a much better strategy is not to even have the problem in the first place, and to start with someone who's actually a positive person, enthusiastic, they want to do well, and they get the job done. They're there just to do the job, and there's no headaches. So just remember that. Now, assuming you've got this person now, the difficult person, and you want to, things are not improving. Obviously, you keep escalating the disciplinary process. So keep escalating the disciplinary process, but just bear in mind that you can't, in general, you can't just terminate an employee. You can't just get rid of them. You have to actually follow the procedure. Like I said before, you've got to give them that chance to improve themselves. You can't be seen as being unfair or discriminatory. Just make sure you're following your HR's policy on this kind of thing. Obviously get help. Get the more sort of superior help that you can get. Obviously, you've got a HR department. You've got your own boss. You've got other people, other co-managers or supervisors that you can speak with. The better, because it shows that you collaborated, you've spoken to other people, and collectively the decisions have been made to escalate the matter further. So ultimately, if you've got someone who's really bad, you want to replace them at all cost, because there's just some people in there that really are never going to change, and there's just nothing you can do, and the only option is to get rid of them. So obviously bear that in mind, but try the procedure that I've outlined, which is give them what's expected at the beginning, address any issues that arise straight away, don't let them fester, speak to them as soon as you notice something is not right, or something you notice is a bad behavior. If it happens again, document it straight away, informally. Okay, get their signature. And then if it continues, then keep escalating the matter further. Some companies, when it gets to really bad, they actually they pay off the employee, they make them redundant, and they pay them off. Again, this is something that the HR and your superiors have to decide. But this is one option that really you can look into, because at the end of the day, someone who's negative, they're not only going to cause good employees within the company to leave. This does happen because nobody wants to deal with somebody like that. So they're going to cause good employees to leave, and you're going to have to spend the money to replace those good employees, which really probably they're not even going to last very long, because that employee is still in the company. And what is the company going to lose with regards to productivity, lost customers, is far more sometimes than actually paying off that employee and starting fresh. Anyway, guys, I hope this has helped you. I'm Paul Brendan. I'm going to put a link to my ebook on Amazon. Obviously, there's a lot more to this than what I mentioned in the video. But if you like more information, then the link is just below this video. Click on that, have a look at the reviews, and I wish you a stress-free, productive, and enjoyable workplace. Thank you.